Okay, in this podcast episode, we'll be discussing the topic of software quality assurance business. We'll tackle entrepreneurship related questions, industry trends, and a look back on 2022 and some insights of 2023. About myself, I'm an expert in audio and video testing, leading efforts to ensure the accuracy and consistency of test result data and managing one of the TestDevLab's biggest audio and video benchmarking projects. Joining me today is Ervins Grīnfelds, who has quite huge experience in quality assurance in general, and not only in business side of aspects. So, Ervins, please introduce about yourself.
Thank you. Happy to be here, and thanks for hosting me today. Myself, I'm Ervins. I'm one of the co-founders of TestDevLab, being here 11 years, and happy to join today's podcast episode.
Amazing, 11 years. Amazing. How are you today feeling?
I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, usually, it's been a busy day as Monday, and as a business owner, I like to be involved in many operational day-to-day things. So there's kind of tons of stuff here, but I'm excited. I always wanted to be here and kind of discuss any topics.
First question will be, what's the best place have you ever visited?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like to travel quite a lot, but it's always kind of very tough to answer which one I like the best. But I would like to say is that I like places that feel outside of this world, and like one particular place comes in my mind. It's in China. It's called I think Hallelujah Park, Hallelujah Mountains. And it's the place where a movie Avatar was shot. You probably remember those kind of nice mountains that look like from not from this planet. Makes you kind of sit down and kind of think over many things. So that comes in my memory.
It was the place when it looked like the mountains are floating, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and in reality, it looks quite the same. Because
Quite the same.
Typically, it's foggy, and sometimes this fog is kind of quite close to the earth, and actual kind of mountains look like they're kind of floating. It's truly amazing experience. If you kind of look up my Instagram, you probably will find some one or two kind of videos of that. It was something that comes in my memory. Yeah.
So that's one of the places you should add to the bucket list, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that I would recommend. It's quite hard to fly there. I think you need to fly via like 2 or 3 cities in China, and it's a bit complex there, but it's definitely well worth it if you happen to end up there.
Why did you decide to start your own business, and how did you manage it?
Yeah, so actually TestDevLab is not my first business. But,
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know actually. I thought that's your first one.
Okay, I will tell about that as well, but let's kind of start about TestDevLab. TestDevLab idea was born maybe more than 11 years ago, back in Skype, when I worked together with my colleague Andres, who is co-founder of TestDevLab. And idea was floating maybe for more than 1 year. Like we were both working in quality assurance and engineering fields in Skype. And that was a time when many Skype folks started their own businesses and journeys. And we scratched our heads and we thought, okay, maybe we should try also something on our own.
And it was parallel to Skype work, yeah?
We started it, yes,
Yeah, okay.
during that time. And that's at one point, the idea kind of materialized, and we went to Latvian company register, funded TestDevLab. Quite important is to say in my mind that starting business is relatively easy. Let me kind of give some statistics. In Latvia, there is on average 10,000 companies started every year, and around 15,000 goes bankrupt. So starting is kind of easy, but I think really tough one is to
handle and manage
company
it.
Successful over many years and maintain it, and that's the tough part. I don't have kind of real statistics like how many companies get through, let's say, a couple of years, but my guess would be that it is significantly lower, and that's the tough part.
And was it quite hard to get the clients to TestDevLab initially?
So we were quite successful in a sense that when we started company, we already were many years in a business, meaning that we had a lot of connections from Skype times, from many kind of previous works where we worked. And I can honestly say that like companies like TestDevLab who are focusing on services or innovative products, it's at least in the beginning, it's only about connections, only about relationships. And the initial clients that we got were mostly by us reaching out to people whom we know, who trusted us, who knew that they can kind of entrust their kind of product testing to us. And that definitely was initial success factor. Connections, people whom we knew, and especially from Skype times.
Okay, Ervins, can you tell a bit more about the company itself?
Sure, yeah. So in my mind, there are kind of two aspects of the company. Number one, for our existing and potential clients. Here I would say is that we are just the best quality assurance partner. We have more than 500 skilled quality engineers. We provide full range of different quality assurance services, ranging from manual tests, automated tests, security testing, accessibility, UX testing, and many more. We do have a fleet of more than 5,000 different devices, be it low-end Androids, high-end Androids, iPhones, tablets, Macs, PCs, you name it.
We have it. You name it, we have it.
We have it, yeah. And not to mention that as a company, we are also externally audited and certified, holding ISO 27001 and ISO 9001 certifications, meaning that any client can entrust their confidential information to us. So that's number one. So essentially, the best quality assurance partner there might be. But the second aspect about the company is something for our employees, existing ones and the ones who will join us in the future. And here I would say that we want to build a company not only where there's great culture, environment, and growth opportunities, but also a great place to work and have fun with your coworkers and have like endless memories.
What would be the approach if you didn't have the connections from the Skype times? How do you think? How would TestDevLab evolve?
Well, maybe it wouldn't evolve at all. That would be that's an honest answer. Like I don't think we would be successful without those connections. Like
Again.
from our initial clients, definitely some of the initial biggest ones did come from our network, from people whom we trusted, and that definitely kind of gave initial kind of boost. If it wouldn't be possible, maybe alternative would be to invest significant funds in marketing, in sales, hire kind of strong people, or look for more partners, not only us two, but somebody else who would kind of join in. But it, in a sense, how currently company involved, without those connections, it would be not possible at all. So that's 100%.
Yeah, marketing is one of the most essential things nowadays. And
But I would say so definitely at the moment, of course, in 11th or 10th of year of TestDevLab, of course, connections are not the only thing or not the main thing that is driving success. At the moment, we have a very strong marketing team, very strong sales team, and also TestDevLab is known in industry. So we're getting a lot of inbound leads. Many people are writing to us seeking for testing help, and that at the moment that is kind of driving company forward.
That's great. You mentioned that you had previous businesses as well. Maybe you can give a little bit insight about them.
Yeah, that I wanted to mention. Thanks for reminding. So
Yeah.
right after finishing university with a couple of my friends, we decided also to fund and start the very first company. My job was programmer, so I did code in Java, and that time it was Symbian phones and Java 2 micro edition phones, and we had a lot of kind of ideas about different mobile products, mostly around remote controlling computers or video surveillance on mobile phones and many others. But yeah, I would say at that point of time, we, well, first of all, we didn't have any connections. We didn't have any go-to-market plan, or it was just kind of young folks with great ideas. But, well, of course, like you can imagine how it ended. But nevertheless, I would say it was excellent learning. Also myself, I learned a lot about what it means to start a business from practical point of view, what it means to work with different partners in the business. I also learned what it means to have a strong go-to-market strategy, and what it means actually to figuring out whom and how to sell products. So that definitely was a kind of great learning exercise.
As we know, a lot of business-to-business companies struggle to attract the clients at the start. Well, you mentioned that network is essential part, right?
When it comes to founders and kind of starting the business, I would say 90% of the success is not like how smart or how good your business plan is or how knowledgeable you are in domain. That's maybe 10%. 90% is how well you communicate with other people, how strong your network is how fast you can make new relationships, how you can make people to trust your services. So that kind of communication aspect and building network, especially during the first years of like starting the business, that's absolutely most important stuff.
At what point did you like look at your business and consider, hey, it's really a success for us?
Not yet.
Not yet. Still not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
No. And let me explain why. Definitely not yet.
That's because you're still running the company.
Kind of, yes, but of course, success is kind of very, let's say, open and vaguely described term. I mean, for some, success could mean like if somebody comes and offers 9-figure amount of dollars to buy your company, that could be one way of success. Another way of success would be, like if company is always profitable. Another way of success would be to see that clients and employees are happy and with the product and services we are offering. So that kind of different ways how to look at success. But the reason why I say is that I don't think we can yet define success is because if we could, it would mean to pause all active innovations and growth and kind of sit back in comfort zone. And in my mind, that would be wrong. There's definitely many things to do for a company and continue aggressive growth. That's why I don't think we can call success at the moment.
You mentioned that the success is different, right, for each one of us. So what does success mean to you?
I like...
How can you define it?
But honestly, I like not so much to think about it because, again, if I would do, it would mean to stop those active innovations and growth forward. The only thing that I could say, success means that continuously improving. So if we would become worse, let's say year by year, like if I will see any indications that clients are not happy with what we provide, if employees would lose motivation.
I think that's the main thing, that clients need to be happy and employees need to have motivation.
Exactly, and to put it worse, so success means continuous growth, and if year by year there's definitely significant growth and a lot of kind of new great stuff is happening, in my mind, that's a success. And of course, for business, of course, it's numbers in some way success. Of course, we want to see that the company is growing or facing through challenges successfully.
Right now, we know that IT industry in general, not only IT industry, but the economic itself is in quite a difficult time, right? And a lot of businesses too. So with the global situation being as it is, if we look back at the year 2022 as a whole, what's your outlook on the passing year and what's it been for business development and the software QA industry?
I think 2022 was the most interesting year in TestDevLab. Meaning that it was a roller coaster.
Okay. Up and downs?
Up and downs, yeah. Like first half of 2022 was significant growth. It was kind of mostly about hiring. There were kind of a lot of companies, especially still in audio, video, and communication sector, looking for skilled quality assurance engineers. And it was definitely defined just by growth, finding new employees. We opened also many new sites, Malaga, Tartu in Estonia, Vilnius, also some new offices in Latvia. So that definitely was defined by growth. Well, in the second half of 2022, already a recession worldwide hit in globally. That was evident also by many tough decisions in IT industries that everybody has seen. Many of kind of big companies across the world did layoffs and many kind of optimizations in their kind of budgets.
They're still doing the layoffs, as we know.
Exactly, they still do it. There's also kind of bright side on that. If you sit too long in a comfort zone, and if you look only at success, it kind of, I wouldn't say maybe degrades you, but sometimes these challenges are very good for companies because it makes to rethink how we position our services, products, innovations, and it helps us to make decisions faster, and try to figure out what is the right way, how to steer through the turbulent economic times and get back to the growth faster. So that's and that is a phase we are in at the moment. So definitely kind of fingers crossed that we are making the right decisions to, let's say, kind of steer through the current situation and get back on a good track.
How do you think, how was the 2022 different from 2021 in regards to QA and business development?
2021 was similar to the beginning of 2022. I mean, 2021 was 1 year since pandemic, and it was still defined by a huge digital transformation.
As we know, the pandemic gave a pretty good boost to TestDevLab, right? Especially in audio video side.
Yeah, and not only TestDevLab, for IT industry as a whole. 2021, I think, was one of the best years ever.
Well, yeah, it gave a lot of people that insight that, hey, we need to actually do more things in IT than before.
Because this digital transformation, it didn't go only in real-time communications, meaning that a lot of schools went to remote schooling, a lot of work in workplaces, they were kind of remote work. A lot of people stayed more at home, so streaming services skyrocketed, and not only kind of that sector, many other kind of aspects of IT had to transform in order to accommodate a new world where people are working remotely, where they're not only physically in office. So it was many industries were skyrocketing, and of course companies like ours also, let's say, kind of jumped on this trend and were able to successfully provide right people, services, and products.
But now it has been a bit quite calmed down, right? If we compare it to that year.
Yeah, I would say at the moment, everybody is
Pretty cautious.
and nobody knows what will happen next year. I mean, there are kind of different versions of forecasts. Some say it is only the beginning, let's say.
Some say it's going to be already ending after 3 months.
Some say, like in 1 or 2 months, everything will go up. And what many companies does at this moment is, how to say it, they make some preventive decisions in optimizing costs or doing some layoffs or finding any other ways how costs could be reduced, just kind of to brace themselves for potential even more disruptive crisis next year. So I would say at the moment it's more like preventive phase, making some decisions and just being ready if things will go worse during the
Does TestDevLab also have some preventive decisions in this particular phase?
Yeah, of course we do. I mean, we are not isolated from IT industry. We work in many business verticals. We work in real-time communications. We work fintech. We work with healthcare. We work with e-commerce and many other business verticals. And of course, we are, let's say, kind of everywhere. And we are part of whole kind of IT ecosystem, and meaning that we see what's happening, and we are also impacted by a global, let's say, kind of economic downturn. And as a company, we're also making measures. I mean, one and most obvious example is that we are pausing active recruitment phase at the moment and focusing only on critical hires.
But as we know, other companies are like laying off. Do we search for the talents in those people who are laid off from other jobs?
We do.
Because there can be a lot of good people, right?
Sure, we do, but we do it only for critical hires because anyway, no matter how we look at, but our kind of first priority would be to seek and find immediately new assignments, new projects, and new challenges to them. And we can't really, it wouldn't be kind of very wise to invest in a lot of new people at the moment without knowing what will happen, let's say, kind of next year and in what way economy will kind of go further.
Because yeah, as you said, it can be in go different ways.
Yeah. So from that sense, of course, we need to be careful. It wouldn't be wise, let's say, to hire a lot of new talent at this moment without really understanding what will happen through. So need to be careful.
Okay. If we look at this year, what is the most positive thing in this year for TestDevLab? What comes to mind, like the first one?
I think first one, similar as I told previously, I think I like in a sense these challenges because those challenges gets you out of the comfort zone, and when you are out of the comfort zone,
Gives
you
the
really
growth.
have to think and make some
Yep.
smart decisions for company, for growth, for people, for innovations that hopefully will help even more aggressive growth and success in years to come, in my mind. And I think that's kind of the best thing, because always, like when there's some crisis or challenges, there's also opportunities, and it's just those companies who will take those opportunities and who will figure out the best way how to overcome challenges and make right decisions also will succeed in years to come.
Okay, as you mentioned, challenges. What are some common challenges that business leaders face, and how can these be overcome?
Well, there's many challenges business leaders face.
Okay.
And I mean, number one, especially as company gets bigger, when it's not like 10, 20, but hundreds of employees, there's always different viewpoints, different opinions with people, employees, or between kind of groups. And one important challenge is for business leaders to make sure that everybody is clear on priorities. There is no unhealthy, let's say, not like fights, but
Relationships.
relationships
Okay.
within a company, and that's something that business leaders together with strong HR team need to ensure, because that also kind of leads to a very good climate within organization. And if there's good climate, there's good motivation. If there's good motivation, people like what they do. There's kind of better services, products, and company kind of keeps growing. So that's definitely one. The second is especially for also company like ours. Um, it's long past due that business owners can be the only one who runs a company. There has to be very strong leadership team, and that leadership team has to be team with mutual trust, somebody who trusts business owners, and vice versa. We should kind of trust them, and they should be able to run like smaller divisions or make even kind of autonomous decisions. And there also has to be a situation where we need to learn not to micromanage, but to trust and to see success of them. So those are kind of couple of most important ones. And of course, priorities, that's something that absolutely must have. Business leaders need to make very clear to their teams what are priorities, what should be worked on at the moment, and those things can change. And when they change, a business leader should be very clear to explain and articulate what's happening and why it's happening and what should be the focus areas.
Okay, how about the key responsibilities of a business leader, and does this role differ from other than leadership roles?
Yeah, so business leader, ultimately, a business leader is accountable for everything, what's happening in a company, accountable for steering through the crisis, accountable for growth. But in my mind, a couple of most important responsibilities, and especially if you talk about tough economic challenge, tough economic times or challenges, the number one when it comes to business leader should be the one that should not panic, should make sure to explain everything what's happening within
You
the
should
company.
remain calm, right?
Remain calm. In the same time, be transparent about things that are happening. Be transparent also about any decisions, even they are not always very popular, but they should be the ones who communicate, who explain, who make it clear to employees whatever is happening. So that's number one. Number two, also making sure that priorities are very well understood within the company, within the leadership team. So that's of course their responsibility.
How can business leaders stay up to date with the latest business trends and technologies and use it to improve the business?
There are many ways I can kind of tell from my perspective. I mean, of course, one is obvious. Business leaders should read and see what's happening within industry from different data sources. But that, of course, is obvious. I mean, everybody in business should do it. But
Probably not only in the industry itself, but the whole world, right?
exactly. But some other things like myself, whenever I have a call with existing clients or with potential new clients, there's always this 5-minute time sometimes when we are waiting for other people to join, or just if it's kind of some new client or new people, there's always a small talk. And I always like to use this time just to check in, let's say, how your company is doing, what's happening, if they are from some specific business vertical, maybe kind of healthcare, maybe e-commerce. I'm just checking how things are for you during this time, how you're managing.
So getting a bit of insight from them
Exactly,
to understand.
and it's like informal but very good knowledge transfer. And once you have a lot of those meetings like that,
It adds up eventually.
exactly, you start kind of to
Amazing.
get the patterns, you start to understand what's happening. And sometimes I see already, sometimes it's by regions. I see that there's kind of one trend happening already in United States companies, another trend happening, let's say, here in Europe.
So you can just summarize them all together and then just act to it.
Exactly.
That's really nice.
But of course, like once, well, you have kind of different data points where you get knowledge. But of course, it's very important for business leaders to have good critical thinking, and once you have this data, to really kind of think it over and make right decision out of it. And that's a hard one, because there's no formal. If there would be formal, everybody would be successful businessman, and there would be kind of many successful kind of businesses, and that's a tough one.
You mentioned critical thinking. Would you say that emotions and biases are issue while leading a company?
Oh, definitely, yes.
And
Definitely.
if it's so, how can this issue be controlled then?
There's no easy way, because humans are humans, like they're emotional beings, that's reality. And what I discussed previously, it's responsibility of business owners try to ensure that there's such culture within the company where we try to avoid as much as possible any personal feelings, emotions, and set it aside.
So to run successful business, you need to set aside emotions, right?
Yes, and it's hard one, like of course it's a hard one, because as I told, like people are people. It's not artificial intelligence that is kind of running the business, and things like that could stay away. And it's a continuous work, like it's just some things that business leaders and management and the actual all employees should take very seriously. And whenever even some, let's say, personal conflicts or emotions take place, it's important to face it, discuss it. If need to be, there could be always somebody in the middle. But of course, it has to be, let's say, stopped in the beginning.
What are some best practices for business leadership, and how can these be applied to real world scenarios?
Of course, number one, which is obvious, is being honest in communication, being transparent to whatever is happening, because typically everybody can sense it, be it employees, be it clients, be
That's
it
true.
partners, be it anyone with whom I'm working. So
Just to be transparent to avoid different misunderstandings.
And second, for business leaders, they need to communicate a lot, not only with employees, but again also with customers, existing customers, new customers, just to maintain and grow the trust. That is definitely a definition of further growth. And sometimes it kind of takes you out of the comfort zone. Sometimes, like you feel that today was kind of super tiring. I just don't want to go out to that dinner with new, let's say, kind of clients who are in the town. But that's something that definitely business owners should do in order for company to grow. So that's definitely another kind of important aspect. Empowering people, another one, because again, like as company grow, business owners are not the ones who can define the success. That can define that success. There need to be empowered leadership team who will continue that growth of the company. Of course, business leaders should learn not to micromanage, but trust the team. So that's essential skill that should happen. And yeah, I would say those are probably kind of most important ones.
Nice. How can business leaders balance their time and resources to ensure that the business is running efficiently and effectively without sacrificing the quality?
Well, they typically can't. So, but of
It's
course,
not possible.
like alone they can't. But again, it goes back to a strong leadership team.
Okay.
alone business
How do
owners.
you find these leadership team? Well, for each leadership team, there's a leader, right? How do
Yeah.
you find these leaders among the others?
Again, there's no formal. There's no formal, and also for us within TestDevLab, they are business leaders who have grown, let's say, from our existing employees, and of course by us working together with them over many years, we already sense those right qualities, technical qualities, communication qualities, people leading qualities, and at some point we see that there's kind of right time to entrust even kind of more and more responsibilities. So in that way, we have quite many leaders grown within the company, but that's kind of one part. Of course, as we grow more, we are also taking outside leadership, and when we are, let's say, kind of hiring those, I would call it executive roles, we are very careful. And by careful, I mean it's in those situations, it's not only about technical skills and competences. It's more about how we see how that person will fit in our company, our culture, if they will believe what we do, if they will want to be part of further success and stay for long time with us. So, and those are kind of factors that we're looking at.
Can you name common pitfalls that business leaders should avoid, and how can these be avoided?
Of course, good business leaders should be proactive, not reactive. By that I mean they should see, let's say, when some challenges are coming, and they should be able to make preventive decisions just to have as minimum impact for a company as possible. Of course, it's easy to say, like
It's harder to manage, actually.
and we have made even ourselves kind of many mistakes. But a good business leader should definitely be the ones who see what's coming, what will be ahead, and make right preventive decisions just to have as minimum impact as possible. And of course, over the times that skill could be mastered more and more. The second one comes in my mind is not being decisive, because sometimes business leaders tend to postpone some hard decisions, and that's sometimes hard, but definitely a skill that is must have for business leaders, being decisive, even if decisions are not always popular. But then it comes, what I kind of told earlier, even if some things that are not, let's say, kind of nice or popular, a business leader should be able to explain it very clearly to everybody involved, reasoning and why something is being done. But very important one is I have seen business leaders to stay in their comfort zone, and that I think is quite dangerous, because the world is changing, business is changing, IT industry is changing all the time, and if someone stays too long in their comfort zone, it could end up quite badly. I mean, we have seen many examples in IT industries where a super successful company, in matter of couple of months,
Leaders need to adjust. That's true.
yeah.
You mentioned earlier that company needs always to continuous improvement, right? How can business leaders foster a culture of innovation and continuous improvement within their team and encourage them for collaboration and learning?
Again, it's kind of multiple things that business leaders should do. Number one is similar. What I mentioned is empowering people, and powering a right leadership team to have clear accountability, clear responsibilities for them. So that's number one. Number two, also for companies like ours, we need not only, let's say, kind of find the team responsible for innovations and fund it with budget, but we need continuously to explain and show by examples why innovation is important, how it helps business to grow. We need to make it super obvious for the team. In the same way, innovation can only be happen if our team continuously learns and grows. So another aspect of employee growth and learning is something that we should take, at least company like ours, very seriously, and definitely have right funds for continuous learning, for continuous courses, for attending different business-related conferences. So all our leaders could be all the time up to date with what's happening and learn new skills.
Returning back to success, what are some key metrics that business leaders should track to evaluate the success of their business? And how can we use these metrics to drive the improvements? How do you think?
Yeah, so we as a company, we are, I would say, in a quite good spot where we don't rely on any external investors. It's owned just by two of us owners, meaning that we don't have any, let's say, kind of regular meetings with tons of KPIs about all the numbers and metrics and graphs and whatsoever. So we don't have that, but of course we do have metrics that we look for ourselves to look at health and success of our business. And a couple of most important ones which we frequently look are, of course, one is obvious, but any kind of business leader should look at it, is numbers, which is income, operating costs, profits, which is obvious. Like there's nothing kind of better invented. Numbers any business leader should always look at. But a couple of other very important one are customer satisfaction metrics. Frequently speaking with customers, if some customer leaves, understanding exactly what happened, why it happened, and how to prevent it in the future. Other than that is employee satisfaction metrics to make sure that team is motivated. If somebody leaves, understanding exactly why it happens and how to avoid it in the future. Those are kind of data points that we look at. And another one, of course, market trends that we discussed previously. And market trends is something, what I mentioned, in order for business leaders to make preventive decisions, in order for company to grow or steer through any challenges that the economy might bring. We just need to be aware what's coming, what likely will happen, and just make decisions based on that.
Okay. How do you see the future of software QA businesses, for example, from 5 years from now?
It will stay and it will grow only. I mean, IT as an industry, it will definitely grow. Of course, there will be ups and downs, but I would say that whole digital transformation will just continue all the time. And that I'm quite confident that IT industry will grow, and also the need of software testing will grow. What I see will change, of course, those business verticals will change. Some will be in more demand. Like, for example, we see the rise of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, have you seen the new OpenAI
Yeah, of
ChatGPT
course,
as
I'm
well?
using it every
It's
day.
yeah.
And
It's like Google on steroids, right?
exactly. And I think
It's amazing.
no brainers that there will be amazing products developed using that technology, and they already are. And many companies will use artificial intelligence to optimize their costs or to make more effective products, and that, in my mind, definitely will be something.
So do you think that potentially business leaders right now need to think of AI inside their own company to use it actually?
Depending on business vertical, but of course, I do believe that for many companies, using AI could not only, let's say, optimize
Benefit.
their costs, but also for them to have ways to be even more successful or more innovative. But yeah, so that was just an example. What I told that IT industry itself definitely will grow. It just different business verticals probably will change. Some will be in much higher demand. Definitely will be cybersecurity, given everything what's happening in the world at the
That's true.
moment. And definitely healthcare and any kind of digital transformation of healthcare products and services is something that we already see. That is very stable and growing, and also business vertical around sustainable energy. We also, everybody's seen some kind of major developments in that area, and I don't see any reason why that should slow down, and any kind of IT work and innovations around that will only kind of increase. But of course, there will be some aspects that will kind of go down. And
Do TestDevLab plan to invest in AI or sustainable energy in the upcoming years?
we already are.
You already are.
Yeah. So also Adrians, you should know Adrians is working on some of those some of those.
Well, yeah, that's true actually.
Innovation, but AI is something that we invest heavily in our research and development team.
That's true.
And we have built some very strong, let's say, image quality and video and image quality evaluation algorithms based on AI that are using actually kind of similar techniques. It's the same chatbot that you mentioned.
What is your go-to quote in life? What would you recommend to use?
It's tough one. I don't really have one. I should
You don't
have
have-
one. Yeah, I don't really have
I think
one.
you need to
Yeah.
think about that one.
Yeah. What's yours?
Mine? You need to think before saying something.
That's a good one. Yeah.
A big thank you, everyone who tuned in and listened to a discussion with Ervins, where we talked about the software quality assurance and business-related topics, issues, and trends. It was a very insightful discussion. If you enjoyed listening, feel free to follow our podcast on Spotify or YouTube, where we'll publish more episodes with experts from different software engineering fields. If you have any comments or anything you'd like to share with us, or topics you'd like us to cover in the next episodes, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram profile, Facebook, or LinkedIn page. You can find us by the name TestDevLab. Let's keep advancing your skills and knowledge set, and see you with the next one.
Thank you, Adrians. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Ervins. It was a pleasure to meet you.